Herbs and their legends. Chinese. This is the romanization of the name of the herb under discussion, commonly called pinyin. Is also the Chinese pronunciation of the name of the herb. R.E. This is the reference number of the herb based upon an encyclopedic dictionary of Chinese herbs compiled by the Jiangsu College of Traditional Chinese Medicine and published in 2 volumes by the Shanghai Scientific Technology Press in 1977. This publication lists over 5,000 Chinese herbs with their assigned reference numbers. Common name. A Chinese herb may have more than one common name. However, the common names listed in this book are the ones most frequently used. The common name of an herb should not be used for identification purposes. Family. In biology, this is used to refer to a major subdivision in the classification of plants and animals. Chinese name. Chinese is an ideogrammic language, which means that Chinese words represent ideas or objects rather than speech sounds, as in English. So when Chinese words are used to name an herb, the word represents an idea or ideas. The Chinese name of an herb listed here is usually the English translation of those ideas. Scientific name. This is the scientific or botanical name of the herb under discussion. Pharmaceutical name. This is the pharmaceutical name of the herb. It normally consists of 2 or more words, with the first word representing the part of the plant being used as the herb and the remaining word or words denoting the overall plant. For example, Radix ginseng means that the root of the plant is used as the herb because radix means root. Ginseng refers to the plant called Panax ginseng. C.A. May. Part used. Different parts of a plant can be used as herbs with different functions, such as leaves, roots, stems, fruit, or seeds. Dosage. The indicated dosages are for 1-day consumption for an adult. When the herb is decocted and used as a single ingredient, dosages should be reduced by half for children between 6 and 13 years old, by 1/3 for children between 3 and 5 years old, and by 1/4 for children under 3 years old. Flavor. An herb may taste sweet, bitter, pungent, salty, sour, light, or constrictive. Energy. An herb may be cold, cool, warm, hot, or neutral in energy. Class. There is a total of 20 classes of herbs. A given herb can belong to 1 or more classes. Meridians. There is a total of 12 meridians through which herbs may travel after they have been digested. When an herb travels through a meridian, it means the herb is acting on that meridian and related organ. Actions. The actions of herbs are important to remember because they often give us evidence for their applications. Indications. There are the symptoms and diseases that are treated by a given herb. However, a disorder may be due to different causes, which means that it should be treated differently. For this reason, the actions of herbs should be taken into account before the herbs are used to treat the disorders in this category. Notes. This includes additional information about the herb in question, including modern experiments. 11 longevity herbs. Medicinal Cornel fruit, Shanzhuyu, sour mountain date, and Morinda root, Bajitian, never withering and falling. Throughout Chinese history, most Chinese emperors lived a relatively short life, partly because of their involvement in hectic politics and partly because of their excessive indulgence in sex. Both took their toll, physically and emotionally, at least from the point of view of a Chinese medicine. However, an emperor named Qianlong of the Manchu dynasty, 1644 to 1911, was recorded to have lived the longest life of all the Chinese emperors prior to his time, dying at the age of 89. Emperor Qianlong was said to have frequently boasted about the secret methods he used to achieve longevity and called himself the Long Life Emperor. That Qianlong had managed to stay youthful and had lived a long life is a historical fact. The British ambassador to China at the time was said to have written something like this in his diary. When I met Emperor Qianlong, he was already at the age of 83, but he looked as if he was only 60 years old. He was in perfect good health and surpassed young men in energy and spirits. Many Chinese physicians have attributed Qianlong's longevity to his regular consumption of many herbs, but most notably medicinal Cornel fruit and Morinda root. The fruit of medicinal Cornel looks like a date, tastes sour, and is found mostly in the mountains, which is why the Chinese call it sour mountain date. But what makes this sour mountain date capable of promoting longevity? The story behind this is that the flowers of this plant appear as early as May, but its fruit do not become ripe until November, which means that it takes a longer period of time than other plants to bear fruit. Moreover, in November, when most other plants have died, the sour mountain date has not only survived, but its fruit are hanging from it elegantly. The fact that it takes a long time for the sour mountain date to bear fruit signifies that the fruit must have a certain element of long life in them, and the fact that this plant can resist the assault of severe winter cold means that there must be a quality of toughness in it. The fruit of medicinal Cornel was used as the key ingredient in a celebrated Chinese herbal formula called the 8 flavored tablets during the 3rd century AD. This formula was used to treat many serious disorders, including diabetes, chronic nephritis, and sexual weaknesses. A king ingredient means that the ingredient plays a very important role in the formula. A report prepared by the National Peking Research Institute indicates that the fruit of medicinal Cornel can promote urination and lower blood pressure for many hours. What follows are standard modern descriptions of this herb. Morinda root is called never withering and falling in Chinese because it is a creeping vine that hangs on persistently, and never withering and falling means longevity in Chinese. The root of this plant, which is used for medicinal purposes, contains vitamin C and carbohydrates. Glutinous, Rehmannia, Shengdi, New Place, and Shudihuang, Old Place. A Chinese government official in the Ming Dynasty, 1368 to 1644, known as Mayor Lin, was said to have fathered a baby girl at the age of 104, and he was believed to be in the habit of taking glutinous Rehmannia. The Chinese have a famous riddle. I have visited a new place and returned to an old one simultaneously. What herb am I? The answer is, I am Glutinous Rehmannia. When Glutinous Rehmannia is used in raw form, it is called New Place. Because the Chinese ingredients for raw Glutinous Rehmannia and New Place are identical, but when Rehmannia is processed by steaming and drying in the sun, it is called Old Place. Because the Chinese ideograms for processed Glutinous Rehmannia and Old Place are identical, the Chinese traditionally process raw Glutinous Rehmannia by steaming it 10 times and drying in the sun 9 times, in order to make it shiny and black as if it were painted with black ink. But why do the Chinese bother to go to such great lengths in processing it? There is a good reason underlying their efforts. Raw Glutinous Rehmannia can reduce heat in the blood, whereas processed Glutinous Rehmannia can treat blood deficiency. Thus, in Chinese herbalism, the raw and the processed forms of Glutinous Rehmannia are regarded as 2 entirely different herbs. They belong to 2 different classes, and there's a world of difference between them in terms of their clinical uses. A report published in the Chinese Medical Journal indicates that raw Glutinous Rehmannia has been shown to be effective in the treatment of rheumatic and rheumatoid arthritis. Also, Glutinous Rehmannia and licorice have been shown to be a good combination. A report published in the Medical Technology Reporter indicates that in the treatment of bronchial asthma, injections of processed Glutinous Rehmannia and processed licorice have produced very positive results. Another report published in the New Pharmacological Journal indicates obvious improvements in cases of contagious hepatitis treated by injection of raw Glutinous Rehmannia and raw licorice. Matrimony vine, Gouqizi, thorny stalk seed. There is a story about a Chinese traveler who, while passing through a village called Xi, happened to witness a young lady beating an old man with gray hair all over his head. The young lady looked about 15 or 16 years old, and the old man somewhere between 80 and 90. The traveler asked the young lady why she was being the old man, and she explained that she was his granddaughter and she was angry with him for failing to take his longevity herbs. That was why he looked so old, she said. The traveler asked her age and was told that she was 372 years old. Rather taken aback, he asked her how she had managed to live that long, and she replied that she consumed matrimony vine all year round. China's greatest herbalist, Shi Chen Li, who wrote the celebrated outline of Materia Medica, published in 1578, pointed out in his book that the people of the village of Nanqi were in the habit of eating matrimony vine, and that a very high percentage of them lived a long life. And a famous Chinese poet in the Tang Dynasty, 618 to 907, by the name of Yu Ji Lu, wrote a poem in the praise of the wonderful effects of matrimony vine, which said that even the water from a well near the plant can make people live a long life. In fact, matrimony vine is not only good for longevity, but is often associated with beauty as well. For instance, a Chinese writer reported that he knew a beautiful woman from a wealthy family who had always made a point to drink matrimony vine tea and eat the seeds every day, which was why he said she looked 20 years younger than her age. Matrimony vine is a trailing shrub with thorny stalks. Its seeds are the most valuable part for medicinal purposes, although the roots of this plant are beneficial as well. Another story relates how a scholar spotted some beautiful flowers on the plant, so out of curiosity, he began to dig out the roots. To his amazement, the roots were shaped like two dogs bound together, but he washed them anyway and boiled them in water. After having eaten the roots for a few days, the scholar all of a sudden felt very light in his body, as if he could fly away. Momordica fruit, Luohanguo, Arhat fruit. Momordica fruit is one of the few fruits that cannot be eaten until it is dried by fire. For the last few centuries, this fruit has almost exclusively been a product of the province of Guangxi in southern China. The people of this region have called this fruit longevity fruit because they have believed that a prolonged consumption of it would make people live a long life. This fruit is said to resemble the stomach of a Buddha, which is why its official Chinese name is Arhat fruit, since Arhat refers to a Buddhist who has attained nirvana. Momordica fruit has traditionally been used for a number of common ailments, such as cough with sputum, constipation, chronic laryngitis, hoarseness, and chronic bronchitis, but it has also recently emerged as an important herb in the curing and prevention of cancer. According to a Japanese report, this fruit contains an unnamed substance that makes it taste 300 times sweeter than ordinary sugar. Although it tastes so sweet, the Chinese nevertheless believe that it is good for diabetes. Baiziren, Oriental Arborvitae seed. A notorious Chinese emperor in the Qin dynasty 221 to 207 BC called himself the first emperor of China, meaning that after his death, his son would be the second emperor and his grandson the third, and on, without interruption. Not only had the emperor built the Great Wall to head off possible foreign invasion from the north, but he also kept over 3,000 concubines in his palace to satisfy his fantasies. But no sooner had the emperor died than his palace was burned down and the empire he had built came to a total collapse. All the concubines either escaped or were sent away from the palace by the new conqueror, and one was later found in the woods. After this concubine escaped from the palace, she hid in the woods where there was little to eat. After a while, she met an old man who advised her to eat Oriental Arborvitae seeds. Since they were not pleasing to the taste, she hesitated at first, but finally came to realize that she had no choice, and so she began to eat them, gradually becoming used to their taste. As it turned out, she developed great strength in resisting the severe winter cold as well as the extreme summer heat. It wasn't until a century and a half later that a group of hunters found her in the woods. She was naked and had long black hair and was seen escaping as fast as a monkey. The hunters were very curious and ran after her in pursuit. Once they finally captured her, they questioned her and were shocked to find out that the black-haired woman used to be a concubine for the first emperor of China, and that she was now 200 years old. From the point of view of modern medicine, Oriental Arborvitae seed contains 14% fat, volatile oil, and saponin. It can reduce cholesterol level and prevent cardiovascular diseases. Sesame Heizhima, Barbarian's hemp. A Chinese woman in ancient China was said to have consumed sesame for more than 80 years on end, which made her live to over 90 years of age and still look like a young lady. At 90, she could still walk 300 miles a day and run as fast as a deer. A Chinese document relates that sesame can be boiled and made into tablets as big as bullets. By taking one tablet each day for 1 year, you will get a shiny complexion. By taking the same dosage for 2 years, the gray hair will go away. For 3 years, lost teeth will grow back. For 4 years, you will have complete freedom from disease. For 5 years, you will be able to run as fast as a horse. And for life, you will achieve longevity. From the point of view of modern medicine, sesame contributes to longevity primarily because it contains vitamin E. Sesame can also increase the beauty of the skin, and the Chinese often make use of a combination of sesame and rice powder as a beauty formula. First, fry sesame in an oil-free pan, and after a while, add a little water and mix thoroughly. Next, strain the sesame and add a little rice powder to the sesame fluid. Then bring the fluid to a boil over low heat. Remove from heat and add a little honey or sugar or other condiments to taste. The Chinese believe that the skin can be made beautiful not by vegetables or fruits alone, but also by an adequate amount of vegetable oils, particularly sesame. The combination of sesame and rice powder is also effective for treating constipation, which is a symptom that needs to be corrected if the skin is to become beautiful. Sesame is called Barbarian's hemp in Chinese because it looks like hemp, and it was originally imported from a foreign country on the western border of China by a Chinese general named Zhang Qin when he was sent by the Chinese emperor to conquer that country in 119 BC. It must be pointed out that the Chinese regarded all foreigners as barbarians during that period of Chinese history. Slender Acanthopanax, root bark, Wujiapi, Thorny Ginseng. According to a story told by China's most celebrated herbalist, Shi Chen Li, half a dozen Chinese politicians and scholars prior to his time had lived to be over 300 years old as a result of consuming slender Acanthopanax root bark soaked in rice wine, traditionally known as Thorny Ginseng wine. Legends of this sort are taken so seriously by some Chinese people that one famous poet declared that he would rather have a taste of Thorny Ginseng wine than be in possession of a cart full of gold. When I visited China in 1983, I bought a few bottles of liquid made from this plant, and the label said, good for neurasthenia, insomnia, many dreams, forgetfulness, dizziness, poor appetite, palpitation, coronary heart disease, angina pectoris, and a prolonged consumption will cure leukopenia caused by physiotherapy and chemotherapy and will slow down aging. A report prepared by the 7th Shanghai Pharmaceutical Factory said that of the 43 cases of leukopenia treated with this herb, 70.4% showed effective results with a rise in white blood cells to normal within an average of 2 weeks. Among the patients treated, 37 cases were caused by chemotherapy and radiation of tumors, 3 cases were caused by hypersplenism, and 3 cases were due to other causes. The treatment involved in an oral administration of 3.6 grams of this herb each day for a period of 3 to 15 days. It was also indicated that the treatment showed better results in those cases caused by chemotherapy, and among them 2 cases underwent a marrow test which showed signs of proliferation. And according to a statistical report compiled by 10 Chinese hospitals, of the 113 cases of tumor patients with leukopenia caused by chemotherapy and radiation treated by this herb, 13.7% showed obviously effective results with an overall effective rate of 74.5%. In another report, 100 cases of chronic tracheitis were treated with this herb. The results showed improvements in symptoms, in physical strength, and in frequency of attack, with the effect of increasing the function of the adrenal cortex. Slender Acanthopanax root bark comes from a shrub with many fine thorns on small branches and belongs to the same family as Chinese ginseng, which is why the Chinese call it Thorny Ginseng.